I've recently done a video on how in the mid 70s these bubblegum cards were a good visual introduction to monster films and monsters of the movies. Um, yeah, purely visual. Yeah, the only bit of reading you did was the awful puns at the bottom. But if you wanted text, if you wanted to read about the monsters in the movies, you had these books, which I've discussed also on previous videos. Um, these books that there seem to be an awful lot of them coming out in the mid 70s. This is Monsters and Vampires, Spine-Chilling Creatures of the Cinema by Alan Frank. He was one of the main authors. And then, almost legendary now, Dennis Gifford, which this book seems to be a seminal book for an awful lot of uh, horror movie fans, that this is what got them started. Um, so yeah, they were two good avenues. Another one for me was Des Skins's Monster Mag, which again I've done a video on. The idea that you know it pulls out into a giant poster, and you have articles. All right. But as Des has said, he felt very limited because you basically got 6 pages to get everything across. Um, and out of that frustration, he created again another classic publication, which I thought I would have a look through today, and that is his House of Hammer magazine. All right, for This Is It. And these came out in the middle of the 70s. They went through to the end of the 70s, and I know it came back when Des had his own publication group called Quality Communications. It came back in like 82, 83. I never got any of those. Um, I think this time, when this first came out, it was the perfect time for me. I think I was like 13 or 14, and I would just, soak up anything to do with monster movies. So, and this magazine was just down in your local newsagents. It wasn't an American import. We never saw the famous Monsters of Filmland or anything like that. This was a British magazine, very uh, um, readily available, and yeah, these are my editions. I thought we'd have a look through today. These are my copies that I've had since the 70s. Um, I'm pretty pleased with how I've looked after them. I've never kept them in protective bags. I should do, really. So I thought we'll have a look through. What trumps what trumped these over the others is that it wasn't only articles about the films, there were comic strips. So, being a big comic book reader and being just, entranced and intrigued by all these horror films that I'd never heard of and had no chance of seeing, to actually have comic book adaptations was something else. And I love this magazine, which is why I've I was going to say I've got all of them. I've still got all of them. It's very peculiar. There's 2 issues which are missing, and um, I'll talk about them when we reach it. But anyway, this is volume one, number one, price 30p back then, um, and a bit of an odd cover. This. Let's start going through it, and um, I'll tell you who this artist is because I've forgotten it. I need to see. Where is it? He's very good. Old Des back in the 70s, he was all for contributors' rights. They were always um, listed. So there's your writers, there's your artists, there's the artist of the cover, Joe Pet Petagno. Apparently, he did uh, album covers, and Des has said this first issue was a bit of a misstep design-wise. Um, so anyway, let's have a look, see what we've got in issue 1. This is quite a high stack of magazines, so I think as I go through it, um, you'll see more of the page. So this is the very first issue, leading with the comic strip adaptation of Hammer's first Dracula film, Paul Neary on artwork. This is always interesting to look through the film books, and you can spot the stills where Paul you definitely had photo reference. All right, so that's a lovely adaptation. That's curious because that's not a photo from Dracula. That's, I think, a photo from um, Satanic Rites of Dracula. I think in the photo, Peter Cushing's got a plaster over his eye, hasn't he? So excellent comic book adaptation, which is quite lengthy, goes on for quite a while. And then an article on, that's just the fold in the magazine. He's that's not the actual photo. Look, that's better. Yeah, article on Christopher Lee. Quite a extensive, in-depth filmography, and all this, the film scene and everything, I wasn't that bothered about. This is something that Des would carry over onto Starburst when he created Starburst magazine. My favourite Hammer vampire film, Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. And yeah, right from the get-go, we have a sequel with art by the brilliant Ian Gibson. I mean, let's pause and just look at that. Amazing. I wish Captain Kronos had been in every issue. Unfortunately not. This is where I pinched. I wasn't aware of it at the time. And then years later, after I'd started my Effectively Speaking podcast, it's like, oh, total coincidence. Total coincidence, okay? But this is John Brosnan's uh, section that he would do on makeup and special effects. So that's issue 1. As you can see, it wasn't all just Hammer. Oh yeah, and also at the back, you got Van Helsing's Terror Tales. All right, that could be a mixed bag, I remember. All right, there's the Monster Mags. All right, so that's issue 1. Issue 2, is this Brian Lewis? I think this is Brian Lewis as the artist. Yeah, Brian Lewis comes on board as the artist, and Des was saying that he didn't want to do a photo cover because anyone can do a photo cover. He wanted a full color artwork, commissioned full color artwork. Look, there's the prelims for it. He wanted a full color art on the cover because he was such a fan of Famous Monsters of Filmland, and he was emulating that. See, look, issue 2, and we've got Dark Star. A lot of people think it's just a Hammer magazine. It certainly isn't. Look, the golden age of horror. Back to Hammer, because at the time, To the Devil a Daughter, this is an exclusive preview because To the Devil a Daughter hadn't come out at that point. And we've got a behind the scenes article on it as well. And then we get The Exorcist. Okay. Captain Kronos again. Effectively Speaking again. All right. And at the back, I remember this one. It ends up with saying the Romans always did straight lines except for one road where they went round the woods. That's Brian Lewis. He was a brilliant artist, Brian Lewis. I wish somebody would collect his work. So then we got issue 3, lovely cover again. I think I'm going to just start flicking through these, otherwise this is going to be like, 45-minute video. But let's just have a flick through and I'll stop. Captain Kronos is still going. Feature on Lon Chaney. Okay, let's show you here. Curse of Frankenstein. All right, so this is issue 3, and then it's issue 5, and I haven't got issue 4, and I don't think I've ever had issue 4. Um, it's on its cover is Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, and even when I was like a teenager, I was put off by all the stills I was seeing from Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, and I think I never bought it. I just didn't buy that issue. It's like, nah, don't think I'll bother. But I was back for number 5 with this amazing cover from Moon Zero 2. This doesn't resemble anything that happens in that Hammer film. But yeah, let's have a flick through. Okay, nice article on Bela Lugosi. Brilliant. Again, this is Paul Neary. Um, this is his artwork for Moon Zero 2. And we have featured this on our Hammer Horrors podcast. And we were saying about the artwork um, is really something else compared to what you actually saw on screen. The they don't they don't sit alongside each other at all. Um, yeah, Moon Zero 2. Okay, no, number 6, and I've got a feeling um, it's a Dracula cover, and it's a fabulous Dracula cover. I've looked for it because it's like, where's my number 6? And I've gone on eBay and looked for it, and I don't think I ever bought it. And the issues when you find them on eBay go for like £45. I don't know if it was a low print run or the printers were on strike or what, but looking at that cover, and it's a fabulous cover, I would have bought it, but I don't think I've ever owned it. Um, as much as I am a fan of this magazine, I'm not forking out 45 quid for it. So here we go, Twins of Evil, another stunning cover. I'd like to know where all the artwork is. You know, be it the comic book artwork and the painted covers. Knowing Des, I'm sure the artists uh, kept their artwork. All right. So yeah, I'm going to speed this up a bit. So that's Twins of Evil, number 8. Now look what we got in here. Jandor, Demon Stalker. Um, this would go on to be reprinted and continued in Warrior magazine. But this is Father Sandor is now changed to Shandor, and yeah, the Andrew Keir character lives on via John Bolton's stunning artwork. Fabulous, fabulous strip that. I wish that would all be collected. King Kong. Again, this is a preview. This shows you when this was out because King Kong was just about to come out. Look at that for a blast from the past. Dark They Were and Golden Eyed, my very first comic book shop. And look at that for a bit of Brian Bolland artwork. Amazing. Um, what else we got? Lot on Quatermass, Requiem for a Vampire. Quatermass Experiment adaptation. Brian Lewis again. All right. Here it's the Creeping Unknown because this was a 2-part adaptation. Van Helsing's still going strong at the back. The day House of Hammer invaded Leicester Square. Look at that. Yeah. So that's that one. Just been featuring Leon on our show and John Bolton's artwork. Amazing. Where is it? Look at that. I mean, look at that. Glorious. Wow. I mean, I love this magazine. And that t-shirt. £1.25. Um, oh yeah. I used to read this over and over, but as I say, I haven't read them for a very long time. But I know when I did reread them, Brian Lewis again. Um, I know when I did reread them, uh, there came a point where I'd reach a certain issue, and then I kind of like stopped rereading them, and that's coming up soon. All right, there's number 12. That's a nice compilation of creatures, which Finder General I just saw there. As I say, so many people think it was a Hammer magazine, and it wasn't. It's a horror magazine with Hammer, you know, being a large chunk of it. Because Des was quite pally with the Hammer people. They were still in Wardour Street, um, and yeah, it's got some water damage here somehow. I don't remember this being water damaged, but it is. People that time forgot. Dear. Now this is Brian Bolland with is it Trevor Goring? Yeah, Trevor Goring and Brian Bolland. Yeah, you can see it's Brian Bolland, but something's quite not quite there. All right. I mean, that is just an amazing cover, almost up there with the film poster. And again, John Bolton's on art on that, isn't he? Let's find him. Yeah, John Bolton artwork. Lovely. All right, on his shroud next with a mummy back up. Van Helsing story. Oh, look at that. That takes me back. Old Airfix dinosaur models. Yeah. Who is the artist on this? Let's have a look. David Jackson. All right. Yeah, it's around about here when we went to the occasional photo cover, and slowly the Hammer stuff started drifting away. We got a big feature on Psycho here, and yeah, it was becoming more like a Fangoria or something. And I think I started to lose interest somewhat. And there's quite a big feature on Star Wars. We're back with a brilliant Brian Lewis cover from Vampire Circus. On Mitter House there. Fairgrounds of Horror. I should have read this in preparation for when we did it on our show. But yeah, Brian Bolland on art duties. I don't know why the decision was made to split it over an issue. You have part one at the beginning and part two at the end. Hmm. Yeah, this is, I think it's when Brian Lewis went away and we started getting uh, a deviation in that there was new strips coming in that were imported from America. Here's a good indicator because this is actually Neil Adams. I'm guessing it's a reprint from an American comic. Um, what else have we got in here? Yeah, it was about here. It's like, hmm. See, it's got. I think Peter Lake Monster. Ugh. It was really becoming a mix of Starburst and Fangoria. Look at that. £165 for a sound projector. Yeah, by this time I wasn't that interested in some of the things that are in here. I mean, that would have interested me, the history of Hammer. We still got a whole van at the back. Yeah, and I think this cover is a reprint, isn't it? I think this cover is a reprint. But we've still got our Hammer adaptations. There's the reptile. Mm, I think about this time, Starburst what was out, so I was buying Starburst as well. And I think I was veering more into science fiction than horror as well. Here we go. Just about to do old Steve, the Incredible Melting Man, on, effectively speaking. Adaptation of Captain Kronos by Steve Parkhouse. But the Savage Bees, yeah, there was less and less in here that I was actually reading or interested in at this point. 21 we're at now. Warlords of the Deep. The grief. Right, we have no opening comic strip in this one, but we do have Father Shandor. I remember when this was reprinted in Warrior, this was changed. This panel was changed because this is leading up into the film. Because there he is, he's on his way to Karlstadt, and there is Dracula. But this was changed because Father Shandor became an ongoing series, and I think Des just wanted to sever the connections, his Hammer connections. Bernie Wrightson, um, I'm guessing that's an American imprint, import. Is that Brian Lewis? Yes, Brian Lewis is back for 22. And we've got a comic adaptation of the Mummy, David Jackson again. I'd like to know why there was this uh, move away from the Hammer films into Warlords of the Deep. I guess it's just promoting the latest thing that is out and it's news, you know. Yeah, we're nearly at the end. In fact, this is the last one. Issue 23 is as far as they got. before there was like a, you know, 4 or 5 year gap before coming back. So let's slow down and just have a good look. Keenan Forbes is the cover, but that's film artwork, isn't it? Enemy from Space, Quatermass, of course. Again, I would have flicked straight past these. So we're almost at the end. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I think I kept with it just out of loyalty. Um, this is uh, this is weird that the artist is Dave G. Chester. It's Dave Gibbons, isn't it? Um, is Gibbons his middle name or what? But that's clearly Dave Gibbons. Nice to finish the original run with a comic book great. And that was it. That's how it ended. Um, the main attraction for me in these was the beautiful um, covers, the comic book adaptations, and then the articles, behind the scenes information on Hammer. Because until this magazine came out, no book went as in depth as the articles we had in this. But mainly it was the comic book adaptations, because this is back in the day before I was allowed to stay up late to watch them on BBC One late at night. So this was the only way you really had of experiencing the film. So yeah, I love the comic book adaptations, and I thought I'd finish today with a publication that Des has out now, which is this: the illustrated film adaptations by the masters of the art House of Hammer, the collection. All right, by Des Skin and Friends. And what you've got here is a very heavy hardback collection on very, very good quality paper of all the comic book adaptations. Okay, lovely, glossy, ultra white paper. Before each adaptation, Des Skin writes about the genesis of the magazine and any tidbits or information about the uh, the issue that the next comic strip would be in. All right, and yeah, this collects them all. See, look, we've got an article here on the backup strips, but really, really, um, it's from Quality Communications, and it is quality, fabulous work. So it was so good to get this and reread these, you know. So there we go. Just flick through it a little bit more for you. Yeah. As I say, this is still available. Censorship. Very interesting thing about censorship here. Um, Worth seeking out. I'll put the link below if you should fancy it. So there we go. That's another stroll down my memories lane with my reading material from the mid 70s. Hope you liked it. See you next time.